Hi, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today News, and welcome to our July Microsoft Teams news update. So as always, I'm joined by Microsoft Teams expert and co-founder of Empowering.Cloud, Tom Arbuthnot, and together, and with our panel of guests, we're going to be running through all the latest Microsoft Teams news headlines. So welcome, Tom. How's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah, Microsoft just ended their FY, so we're in July, we're in the new financial year for Microsoft, so all go last month, and still quite a lot of news to get through, even though it's the very start of the new year for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts all over again. Another quarter. Lots more happening.
Yeah, never stops. So this year, traditionally, this is a little bit slower because Microsoft have, certainly on the sales side, have run up to the end of the year, and July is a bit quieter. We'll talk about Inspire, where we get what's new for the year in terms of their priorities. And then we'll be into August. But it's interesting how in Teams, the features keep on rolling and the changes keep on coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And for our audience out there, we're halfway through the year, aren't we? So I mean, it's time to kind of set some goals, and figure out kind of what you're going to do with Microsoft Teams in the next 6 months to really make it really sing for your organization. So, I mean, lots to talk about. And one event that you recently visited and most of you visited was Commsverse. How did that go?
Yeah, it was really good, actually. I think they topped out as 700 people this year. It's a UK community-led event. Very, very big turnout. I think 31 sponsors. So just shows how hot this space is. This time they brought in Viva as well. So Viva and Teams are kind of getting closer and closer together. But yeah, it was nice to see so much activity in the community. And hats off to the organisers of that event. Really good.
Yeah, well done to everyone from Commsverse. Yeah, fantastic event. And another celebration, Tom, is I believe it's your anniversary, Empowering.Cloud's anniversary, in fact.
Yeah, we've been going for a year now. So we launched actually at Commsverse last year, so it was our year anniversary as well as their event. So really pleased with where we are. There's always lots to do, but we brought on some more sponsors this year. So Crestron, Jabra, Mnemonics, and Luware have come on to join. AudioCos, Blandis, Neat, Pure IP, Ribbon. Really nice to see all the key sponsors coming back and more sponsors coming on as well. And we're up to 3,500 people now, 24 subject matter experts providing content. So just really pleased with where we are and really excited about. We've got big plans for this year as well. So yeah, it's all good.
Fantastic. Well, we expect those big plans, to be executed before the end of the year, Tom, of course.
Yeah. No, there's no rest.
No rest. No, not for Tom Arbuthnot this year, and maybe for years to come as well. But no, well done. Fantastic. It's great to see the community all involved and all the vendors and whatnot. But let's keep on going. And another celebration that we've got to probably recognise as well, and that's why it's a relatively quiet crowd today, and that's the 4th of July. So happy 4th of July to all our North American audience. And
we've got decidedly this side of the pond panel this week because for obvious reasons, everybody in America is celebrating.
Indeed. Well, let's kick off the news. Let's first of all bust some of those Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing myths. What's the latest on the facts? What's the latest facts, Tom?
Yeah,
what advice would you give?
Microsoft are really hyping Copilot. I mean, everybody's super excited about it and really interested in it. And there's been lots more blogs and preparation content Microsoft have been releasing to say, here's how you get ready. What they have now let us know is Copilot will be part of the M365 licenses as opposed to the Office 365 or E licenses. So you might hear us talk about E3 or E5. Those are the Office 365 licenses, but you'll need to step up to the M365, so the ME5 or the ME3 to get Copilot, and there'll still be a cost on top of that as well. There are now 600 organizations testing this, and they all paid to get into the pilot. So that shows you the level of appetite and quite significant money as well to get into this pilot. So Microsoft are kind of laying the foundations from day one of this is definitely going to be a step up in terms of cost to get into the Copilot club, if that's what you want to do.
That's really interesting. Anything from our panel of speakers on that one? Anyone got an opinion on the latest Copilot update?
I think it's one of these that's it's really exciting. I think my concern, I always seem to end up with the concerns, is that it's going to be another premium license SKU, so maybe another $10, and that leaves me in a world where we've got like such a great value bundle as Microsoft 365 E5, that kind of top end bundle. But then there's a Teams Premium, an Intune Premium, and now a Copilot Premium, I'm going to guess, is what the SKU might be called. And it just feels like we're adding another $10, $20, $30 on per user. And it's starting to feel expensive. Now, I don't think Copilot's going to be needed for everybody, but when we've all seen those demos, imagine the possibilities if everybody did have access to it. But I think you can see it rolling out to like a tactical number of people. And I think it's going to fit in really well with people's intentions to automate and standardize their operations. We've seen so many big organizations, even I think Accenture quite recently invested billions in AI and automation. Yeah. And then in the same breath talked about how they're going to be reducing their workforce. That's coincidental. But yeah, I think, I wonder how much tolerance there is going to be in the partner and the user community for another premium license, another premium license, another premium license. That's where my thoughts are. Really excited for the technology. Kind of wish it was in one of the existing bundles. Totally understand why it isn't. But I think we're at risk of license confusion again from Microsoft.
Yeah, it's interesting because every product is adding AI and every product is trying to add $5 to $8 to $10. So like we use Notion internally, they add an AI $5 extra. ClickUp's trying to sell me AI for $5 extra. Like all the video editing tools are adding AI for a little bit extra. So everybody's trying to find a way to monetize it. And it'll be interesting to see if people go for AI in every product or if they like pick an AI like ChatGPT Premium and take their content to that and use that. I think Microsoft are in a strong position because they have all the data to make AI really useful. So that whole, PowerPoint to Word, Word to PowerPoint, scanning over your email and your meeting content. But I'm really curious too to see what price they put on this. I think the other thing to bear in mind is Microsoft have been pushed a bit on the Teams being bundled is that anti-competitive. So this is kind of a counter to that, which is if this is extra cost, well, there's a market out there for other AI solutions to get in and compete as well.
Yeah, I actually think this is Microsoft's biggest launch since Office 365 and most difficult one actually to land because the expectations sky high. The potential benefits are significant, but we've all been in the technology area for so long. If it doesn't land, then the expectation curve is really difficult on this one. And then how do they price it? If it is as good as advertised, then potentially companies could be removing a certain amount of headcount from their companies, maybe 10%. If the bigger companies, that's hundreds of millions of pounds, billions of dollars or pounds. So how do they price that in the M365 bundle? It's incredibly exciting and incredibly fascinating to watch, and I wish them all the best. I wouldn't like that decision to be that decision maker. I think it's
right from Satya down, they've realigned to AI being the most important thing, and you can see it across all the divisions and the reorg and everything else. So yeah, undoubtedly they are all in on it. We'll see how quickly the market picks up on it.
And I think the other thing just to mention on the Copilot side is how much work is needed in the back end to make it work properly. So yeah, they've got graph and they've got all the data and all that stuff, but is it going to be manual effort required to tag all the data, to label it all, or will Copilot be able to understand it? And if there's any manual intervention, it'll be fascinating to see how much effort that takes as well. So yeah, good luck, but can't wait to see it.
It would also be interesting to understand the difference between the Teams Premium versus the Copilot services, because Teams Premium would have certain functionality, it would have certain features, and then how add-on Copilot would be required for every user or to certain set of users. So that would also be an interesting factor as well, that everyone gets Copilot or everyone gets Teams Premium as well.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Microsoft seem to be shaping up as Teams Premium is AI doing things for you, like i.e. here's your meeting summary, your advanced meeting insights, and Copilot is more you engaging, like you say you want to interrogate the meeting in real time or things like that. But I agree with you, so it's just a blurry line as to where one thing ends and the next thing starts, and do I need to, as a customer, I bought Teams Premium already, where's my AI? Oh, that's, you want the extra AI, that's the extra Copilot stuff. So there's going to be a lot of education to do there.
Yeah.
And not only about the education, but also when the sellers, the Microsoft sellers, are going and selling those services, it would be really tough for them to demonstrate those things and sell those to every different customers as well, because they have already sold E5, and are to have add-ons would be really a tough task as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Teams Premium, if you're, let's say you're an M365 E3 customer at the moment, Teams Premium, you can kind of justify it maybe because you get the webinar capabilities, you get some extra capabilities, don't you? So, and that's probably maybe 5% of the organization, the ones that don't want to move from other competitors. You can say, oh, well, we're going to pay, $120 extra a year for maybe 1 or 2% of our user base to be able to close down another contract. That makes total sense to me. Whereas if Teams Premium has to be rolled out to, again, let's take a 50,000 user organization, that's a lot of money that you have to justify. So
yeah, adds up fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to stay pretty close to this story. So for everyone out there, keep tuning in. We're going to unpack this every month as it goes forward, because I'm sure there's going to be lots to unpack. So anyways, for now, Tom, let's move on to Microsoft Teams Rooms. Quite a couple of updates here. Do you want to talk us through the first one?
Yeah, sure. We've had updates on both the Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows and Microsoft Teams Rooms on Android. So on the Windows side, we're up to 4.17. So we get the new user interface refresh applied by default, and Microsoft have improved how the custom backgrounds, custom home screens work, which was kind of the blocker for making that a default. SIP/8323 outbound dialing with CVI. The first vendor there is PEXIP, who can do that. So that's the first time we can kind of natively dial from a standard from an MTR room to a standards-based SIP endpoint, like a direct peer-to-peer. Some together mode improvements, some meeting surveys that happen at the end of the meeting. And for pro customers, the pro agent is rolled into the device now. So the device registration for the pro portal is a little bit slicker.
Superb. And I believe we've got another update. I think Graham can talk us through a little bit more on that one.
Android update called Update 2 for this calendar year, rolling out again different times for different OEMs. Some are only available through the Teams Admin Center, where some OEMs will bundle it, so you have to wait for their firmware to be delivered with it. But one of the biggest things is for government customers in the US is GCC High support. So being able to take these Android devices and register into your Teams Admin Center and get them online. So yes, the application has support, but be aware there's only one OEM that has got this criteria, and I don't know who it is. It was never disclosed which OEM has got it. And this follows along with the next feature of additional USB cameras on the device. So again, Android device bars have always been, an all-in-one device. Logitech do have this, roommate, this appliance, where you can potentially plug in additional cameras. So this is where Update 2 will allow that additional camera to be plugged in. But I'm guessing also some of the room bars, they all have USB ports. Potentially they could have a additional camera, maybe at the back of the room looking at a presenter in there as well. And then also, along with this additional camera, the alternative option is content camera, or Magic Whiteboard when it was originally launched. The content capture, so if you've got a traditional analog whiteboard and you want to digitize that into a meeting, then now Android supports this. This has been on Windows for quite a while, and now you can have this content camera. Now there is, I think, 5 or 6 certified vendors for content cameras, but again, don't know the exact list of which Android vendors are supporting this content camera option.
Yeah, I think we got some homework to do there. If you're the OEM who got GCC High, let us know in the comments. And there's clearly a list for Kevin on our research team to do of which OEM supports which camera for content camera, because it's tricky when you've got so many OEMs and so many options, and not everybody's supporting everything.
Indeed, and then there was a couple of other sort of usability features, should we say? This is the option now for defaulting your layout. So when you walk in a room, you can default it to content and people. So we see everyone on the screen and we see content. This is especially for people who had single screens, which we see a lot of meeting spaces are single screen devices now, or even a larger format display. Previously, if you had some content sharing where you're ready to start your meeting, you wouldn't know who's on video. So now you've got that option in the team settings on the device. You can't do it through the Teams Admin Center. That's not there in the configuration profile. It has to be done on the device, what layout you want to fix it to. So you could fix it to front row, or just to content and gallery, for example, on there. And another nice new feature that's come in now, again, many OEMs did this. They built their own menu or swipe menu to control the camera and the framing. It's now in the default UI of Microsoft. And this is their attempt to bring together multiple different OEMs naming conventions, such as Neat Symmetry, Logitech RightSight, Poly AI Director. All these different manufacturers have their own naming convention. This is the attempt to bring it together in the Microsoft app. So if you do have a mixed estate, so I know your rooms in the US might be one OEM and in Europe there might be another, this just means it's simplified for the user that when they hit the icon next to the camera now, the down arrow, they get to choose room view, composite view, or active speaker. So again, also depending on the hardware and its capabilities, you'll either see 2 options, or if they're more advanced cameras, then you'll see 3 options with the active speaker option there as well. And that was it in the Android world. So again, you've got the option to choose your default camera. So if you do have that second camera, that could always be your default potentially as well. So as someone said over the weekend, lots of options. Bringing it up to feature parity with Windows. There's still an us and them, I think, in the product group where there's slightly different features in one and not the other. But for the majority of meeting spaces, again, I think the simplified Android bars tick a lot of people's boxes.
Nice. And Tom, aren't we getting that parity closer and closer all the time now? Is it or is it still a buying issue?
Yeah, it's a constant moving target because Android gets a lot of features, then Windows potentially gets new features. So I think what's happening is Android is getting a lot of the fundamentals, like ticking all the boxes that your typical user would want most of the time, and certainly in those small and medium spaces, and maybe even some larger spaces. But you'll see Windows now have the smart speaker, the face recognition, the Copilot stuff. So there'll always be a difference, and customers will always have to decide what they want to do, price and standards wise. But I'm seeing most customers mix and Android sort of, for typical rooms, and Windows for more complex structured audio, multi-camera when it comes, multi-stream, that kind of thing. So we'll see how customers react. But yeah, good for customers that Android is closing the gaps on features for sure.
Yeah, plenty of choice. And to round it all off, we've got a new MTR training and badge exam. Is that right?
Yeah, this is a big one for Microsoft partners. So Microsoft has a certification badge test. It's online, it's free for partners. So you have to go through their online training, technical training, and then you get your badge. It's a really big deal for the Microsoft Teams devices partners to get their teams certified with this. Lots and lots of compliance and conditional access and Intune type questions in there. So you've got to brush up on all of that if you're a techie. But we'll put a link in the comments for the training and the exam there.
Cool. And we've also got Microsoft Teams certification end date for Android 9 devices. That's being extended. Is that right? Tell us more.
Yeah, this is interesting. So Android 9 is relatively old Android version now, but there's lots of particularly Teams IP phones running on it. So Poly, Crestron, Audio Codes, and Leyland will have phones on it. Also, the Crestron Teams displays and Neat have a panel still running on 9. 9 was due to go end of support 5th of August, which means Microsoft say, officially it's end of support, you've still got 2 years of reasonable endeavors, best effort to be supported, unless the OEM upgrades Android to a higher version. So Microsoft have now given the OEMs until the 5th of November 2023 to upgrade, and that would push them through to either they go to Android 10 or they go to Android 11, and that would give them more time in support. So if they went to Android 10, that will give them September the 3rd, 2025, Android 11 later still. It's interesting. There's something for us to all keep an eye on now as to which devices the OEMs do upgrade and which don't upgrade. So we know that some of those devices, so for example, Audio Codes have a couple of older phones, the C450 HD and C448 HD. that they're not planning to upgrade. So you've kind of got 2 years left, or you swap those out really from a supportability standpoint. And I think Leyland have got an older MTR, which they're not planning to upgrade as well. Most of those OEMs will be upgrading. But if you're running those devices, be sure you understand which Android you're running, that you need to upgrade within the timeframes, and what your OEM is doing as far as upgrades go.
Superb. Well, next up, let's talk about real-time telemetry in Teams admin, Tom. I mean, I believe there's
so it's a
something
mouthful,
here.
isn't it? So this
Tell me
is
more.
a lot of people really want to have proactive alerting when a meeting's going badly, particularly in important meetings. So like you've got exec meetings, you've got the monthly board meeting. I want to know when it's going wrong. Right now, as a Teams admin, you can click into that meeting, select it in Teams Admin Center, and watch the meeting in real time and see some stats about it. So if you really care about it, you can literally glue yourself to the screen and look at it. But that's not super efficient. What's coming now is alerting based on those stats. So the ability to set triggers to say, this meeting is important to me, watch it. And if packet loss gets above 5% or jitter gets above X, let me know. Which also means you can then click multiple meetings and say, monitor all these meetings and let me know. It is still very manual. You can't say monitor all my meetings. There's no API coming, or there's no API today, I should say. And it does require Teams Premium on the users or Teams Pro on the devices, the room systems once it's launched. But another nice step in the right direction for like proactive real-time monitoring for Teams.
That's great. And I suppose just in terms of the use case here, it's more for diagnostics than actual kind of monitoring. Would you say proactive monitoring? Would you say?
Yeah, it's kind of like so. If you have a meeting of you've got the board and or the regional all hands or something, and you've got a few hundred people on it, and it starts to wobble, you kind of want to know, is it the presenter is having issues, so tell them to like swap out to another presenter, or an attendees complaining that it's rubbish. Everyone's like, oh, is the entire all 300 people having an issue? It's very hard to tell in real time. Like, no, that person's joined on a mobile from Starbucks. Yes, they're having issues, but that's them, not the meeting. Or is it the entire meeting? So you as an admin or as a, or you often see this in white glove service, will immediately be able to understand, no, that attendee has a connectivity issue, but the meeting is fine. Or the presenter has an issue. We need to get them to a better connection or swap them out because they're affecting all 300 people because they're having the issue and they're presenting, that kind of thing.
I see. So it could be a bit of both. Watching those really important events and sessions or meetings happen. Also, maybe looking at things that, I suppose from a diagnostic point of view afterwards.
Yeah,
as well.
you can always go. You can look at every meeting after the event and go through the diagnostics and kind of work out averages and issues in current sites. This is specifically about like real time, so it's those really important ones.
Nice, very nice.
And that's effectively replicating capabilities in other competitors, right? Who have that today. So that's another classic hurdle of, we can't leave, Zoom or whatever because we can monitor those meetings in real time and we can see all the attendees and we can see all the presenters. So it's a big thing it's a big obstacle for some organizations, I would imagine. So it's pretty positive for Microsoft that you can do that.
Yeah. Like in traditional systems, often very big meetings, they would monitor absolutely everything all the time just to be sure.
It also helps in those users, the end users, where they keep on reporting issues that I'm constantly facing some challenges with my devices. So it also helps you to do a real-time analytics on those users specifically as well, to see what wrong they are doing in those meetings or in those calls as well.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, you can see the device types as well. We're writing the real-time analytics, which is handy.
And they're always the most important person in the meeting, right?
Always. I definitely think
there's like a law. We should call it a law. There's an inverse law between the most important people in the organization and their dodgy connections and devices.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move into potentially even more dodgy connections, and let's talk about cars, specifically Microsoft Teams Apple CarPlay, Tom. But there's some improvements. So there's
this is getting a nice set of additional features. So CarPlay, for those not familiar, you can plug in your Apple iOS phone into CarPlay and you get a Teams experience. A couple of months ago, they added the meeting roster, so you could click to join a meeting. Previously, we've had Siri on there, so you could ask Siri to make a call to ring a person, but now we're getting speed dial and history layer as well. So you can add your speed dials, click a button and click to call. Obviously clipping those clicks on screens to a minimum while you're driving, but it makes it a bit less fussy than very often those voice recognition things can be tricky. So just having one click to make calls to your speed dials or history is quite a nice addition.
And it is nice to see they are developing this, right? It's not just a tick in the box. They're actually kind of adding more functionality in. So I think that shows quite a nice
for sure. And similar is happening on the Android Auto, although the Android Auto tends to lag. I think might be a little bit easier sometimes to do things in iOS, go from app to CarPlay. But yeah, I think a lot of road warriors use Teams, and Teams in the car makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. So it's a good focus area, I think.
There's also there's a really interesting stat that I saw. I was over at the Beyond conference with PAX 8 the other week, and Gartner were up. No, not Gartner, and I've gone on Jay McBain, of course, from Canalys. So he was up doing his presentation. He puts up a stat that says 79% of people will only buy a new car if it supports CarPlay or Android Auto. It has now become a major buying decision as to whether they will buy a car or not. 79%. That's how much integration is a huge part of our life. And so I think it's really interesting to see that just so that your phone works with your car has now become like priority number one. And then, how big's the engine and how far does it go and how fast does it go? But it's become one of those metrics now, 79%. I just thought it was really interesting. And I think, again, Microsoft are playing in the space where they say, hey, we see the drive for this stuff. People are really, really keen on having everything integrated. So it makes sense that Teams is right there with a great experience too.
But an interesting piece on that, are car manufacturers still focusing on building their own sat nav and their own UI? You almost think, why bother? Just put in CarPlay and Android Auto.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what both vendors are pushing for, is to own the full car experience. I think the car manufacturers are nervous about that. But yeah, I think absolutely. You look at what Google were predicting a couple of years ago, owning the whole experience. I think that's where it'll go.
I'd be incredibly nervous if I was a car manufacturer, given all my data over to Apple or Google. But good shout out for BlackBerry, because BlackBerry are have most of the sort of internal dashboards and for car manufacturers, where they make most of the money now, I think.
Yeah, they just step up their UI UX then, don't they, if they want to compete?
Well, it's got a keyboard on the wheel.
Yeah. But the steering wheel.
Yeah, it is interesting though, isn't it? Because Tesla don't have CarPlay or Android.
They avoid it, don't they? I guess licensing.
Yeah. And I think it's partly licensing.
Data, isn't it? They want all the data. Like Tesla is built on data, so that makes sense. So it's interesting.
Well, Silicon Valley is coming for your combustion engine, and now they're coming for your dashboard. So what are they going to come for next? Maybe you. But that's a whole different conversation for another day, I'm sure. So anyway, let's move on to some equally big news, which I really quite excited about. A new Teams client, Tom. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is an ongoing story. So Microsoft released a while ago the new Teams client. So Teams 2.1 is kind of the internal name for it. Faster, lighter, built from the ground up, generally be better, and various marketing stats. But generally, the perception is that's true. It is better. Microsoft have now said they're tentatively looking towards October for general availability of that. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to have to all switch instantly, but you can see what's coming here is at some point Microsoft will run them side by side, the classic client and the new client, and slowly they will push towards, okay, now's the time where you've really got to jump over to the new client. So they put up a microsite, and we've linked it in the comments, where you can see which features are in the new client and which features are still coming soon, which will help you understand how you can roll this out to some or all of your users if they've got the use cases covered in the features to make sure they get to start using it. And there's a whole lot of admin details about how to roll out the client, how to manage the change, etc., etc. So we're coming into summer, which is classically a bit of a slower time for IT. This might be a good time to start thinking about towards the end of calendar Q4. You're probably going to be expected to start moving from the classic Teams client to the new Teams client. So now's a good chance to get on top of it.
And Tom, by looks at the website, they're really keen for feedback, aren't they? So how do users and companies get involved in that?
Yeah, they really are. They want to make sure they hit all the use cases people need. So in the in Teams Admin Center, you can flip users into preview, and then they can provide feedback via the client, or there's a feedback website as well. And there's again that microsite we've linked down there. You can join the community, the tech community for preview as well. So lots of ways to give feedback. I think most important thing Microsoft are looking for is they want feature parity, which is a long running word for our space, but seeing what features are going to block how many people. So like making sure they've got all the core features covered.
Yeah, the quest for feature parity continues. For anyone out there that doesn't know how to, or is maybe self-managing a small environment of Microsoft Teams clients, how do they upgrade? Do they just click the update button in the top corner, or is there a more central kind of best practice way of doing it?
Yeah, so at the moment it's still in preview, so we haven't got to the point where it fully forces, but I would anticipate, much like the Skype kind of migration, it'll be gently like encourage your users to do this. We're going to proactively give them the option to switch, so they get a toggle in the top left of their client saying check out preview, and then at some point Microsoft will say, if you don't do anything, we're just going to magically update your users. You can defer it, but we'll do it. And then eventually you can't defer it. That tends to be the model. So for small customers, very often they don't proactively do this and they'll just wait until Microsoft changes it. For bigger customers, they want to test it with a pilot group, understand it all works, get user comms out there so their help desk doesn't get flooded, etc.
And that all makes good sense.
Tom, are there any big feature gaps between the new and the old client that you're aware of?
Yeah, there are definitely some at the moment. So for now, it's not on Mac or VDI. Those are planned and coming. It's not supported on special clouds, so GCC, DoD, etc. There's some advanced calling features, call queues, reverse number lookup. Amazingly, team and channel creation is not there, which is obviously being Teams is quite an important one for a lot of people. And third-party line of business apps, so bringing in your your Salesforce or your Trello or whatever it may be. So there's still some significant gaps there to close. So we'll probably see those close as we roll up to October.
It is a significant improvement, though, isn't it? It's good. It is I don't know if we're probably all on it. I guess on the call. The performance is significantly better, so that's good. Sorry, Satish.
Yeah, Perf's definitely improved. I've been on it for quite a while, and line of business apps and things keep flipping me back and forward. Sorry, Satish, you were going to say?
Even your contacts and speed dial, which is one of the most critical things, is still not available on the new clients yet. And like you mentioned, Tom, the third line of business or the line of business apps, that's really critical and vital. And they mentioned that towards the end of July, that's what they are planning to roll out in the preview for the line of business apps as well.
Okay, let's move on to some events. Tom, it's quietening down towards the summer, but there is one big event just around the corner, and that is Microsoft Inspire. Tell us more.
Yeah. Microsoft Inspire is the big partner event where Microsoft tell all the partners what they're focused on for the next coming year, what the partners should focus on, what Microsoft want you to move and push as far as metrics go. So very important partners. There's a modern work pre-day on the 17th. So that's the area a lot of us are focused on. And then 18th and 19th is the big show. So I'll be tuning into a whole lot of that and hopefully summarizing it down into bite-sized useful information. So yeah, next month we'll have some of that to talk about on the show, which will be good.
Superb. And is that an in-person event? Can people attend it, or is it all online, or both?
It used to be in person. I think it's all online now.
It is,
yeah. It used to be in person and quite a lot of fun. But there are some partner meetings in and around it, so they've kind of broken out to city-based meetings for some partners. But yeah, all online this time.
I think I did hear a rumor that we might be back in person from next year. I think that was definitely an interesting rumor I picked up last week. But yeah, still virtual at the moment. I personally miss the just getting everyone together. It's such a huge environment. You see like 12,000 partners and 8,000 Microsoft staff all just kind of bundled together in an arena. You're like, really? We're all here because we
yeah, it was a great networking opportunity for sure. To meet with your partner peers as well, which was nice.
Yeah. The community's amazing, but yeah, I can't wait to get back to in person. Yeah.
Here in the Americas this year, they have like 6 cities that is hosting in-person events as well. But they have limited it to the managed partners of the states. So they have only kept it for those managed partners in 6 cities across America. So there is a mix of hybrid. It would be like in-person and online as well.
Well, right, yeah, I'm sure it certainly would be a great event to get to if we could all get to one, wouldn't it? But those regional events sound like the way to go for at least the time being. But you heard it here, folks. There could be an event coming soon in person. Thanks for that, Scott. So next up, we said we're talking about Teams Fireside Chat. Tom, there's another show coming up.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Teams Fireside Chats showing up. For those not familiar, we get a guest in for a bit of an open conversation around Microsoft Teams. We've got Irina and Sam, who are on the devices team. They run the device management, the Pro Portal, etc. So that's on 13th of July. That should be a really good one. They've been around for quite a while in our space and have a lot of stories to tell, I'm sure. And it's a hot topic for people, device management. So that'll be a fun one.
Great stuff. And we've got an AMA session coming up, and I think Graham knows more about that one, doesn't he?
So our monthly Microsoft Teams devices, Ask Me Anything. Thanks to Tom and the team. They're taking over the scheduling and all the behind-the-scenes admin that takes ages. So they're going to send out the reminders monthly. So this is an open session, much like the Fireside Chat. They're not recorded. So you can come ask questions, find out from other peers within the community or end users on features, functionality coming to Teams, or what's announced, what's new, or you're having trouble with your devices, or best practices. How do I roll out 1,000 meeting rooms? So we've got all different people on there, end users, partners, fellow MVPs, and we hosted once for North America and EMEA on the afternoon around this sort of time, 4 p.m.ish. And then also the following morning, UK time. So 6:30 for the early birds in the UK, or the slightly, people getting up late in Europe. But then it's about 4:30 p.m. in Sydney. So we do that event, and it's the same topic. So yeah, feel free to join that and sign up and get some information.
Yeah, it's always a really good one because you hear from a lot of people in the field with the devices, how they get on with the updates, the little niggles, all the things we were talking about here about this OEM supports this, but this OEM supports that. I always get loads of good information from that call. So yeah, definitely a recommended one.
Yeah, sound like some good nuts and bolts sessions there, getting into the detail. Good stuff. Well, that's it from us. If you're new to UC Today, subscribe. If you're not, then give us a like or a comment or even a share. It's always appreciated. And if you're a Microsoft Teams fan and want to be part of this conversation, you can connect with Tom, or part of the conversation. You can connect with Tom, myself, and our guest speakers on LinkedIn and Twitter, and our social links are in the description. So thanks to Tom, our guest speakers, and everyone for joining us. We'll be back again next month. I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.